Hello everybody, it's Alan again. I guess I'm in the habit of doing multiple videos in one sitting, so I have multiple videos where I'm like dressed the same and in the same place a few weeks ago and today. Anyway, I was thinking about the concept of being post-transition because I've seen some people use that term or have that perspective where they say like, "Oh, I'm done transitioning." And I have mixed thoughts about that. For starters, technically, I think we're always in transition, whether one is transgender or not, because things are always evolving in life. Um, and especially being trans, like, I think probably pretty much everybody would have at least little stuff come up that they have to deal with that relates to being trans um, as time goes on. Even if you've finished surgeries that you want to do, even if you've changed your name. So, are people ever totally done transitioning? I don't know. Everyone is entitled to their own take on that. Um, so, I'm not going to go quite so far as to say that I am post transition, especially since I don't have a beard yet. But I think in some ways that concept resonates with me, and in some ways I feel like I have reached a different stage than when I was really wrapped up in transition. I feel like I am sort of past some things, maybe. Like, so I have kind of a list here of examples. So I just feel like sharing that with you, and I'd be curious to hear if anybody else has similar experiences or feelings or not. So, one little thing that has occurred to me recently is that I'm no longer into men's magazines. Like, when I'm at the grocery store or something, and then in the checkout line, there's like um, men's fitness or GQ, stuff like that. I'm not tempted to buy it at all. And I used to really be tempted, and I used to get those magazines somewhat frequently. I subscribe to Men's Health for a little while, and I also subscribed to GQ for a little while, which was fun. But I'm just kind of over it. Um, be- and I think I mentioned these magazines like way back, like in one of my first vlogs, like a few years before I started transitioning. I talked about the appeal of those magazines for me. But now, having kind of been there, done that, and being a man now, and kind of getting into the groove of my own version of being a man, just not into it. Like, I feel like I don't need to, like, purchase and get that uh, manliness or something. It's like I'm satisfied with the masculinity and maleness that I have within myself now, having gone through transition. So I don't need to, like, sort of vicariously experience it. That's how I put it, through these magazines. And I have my own, like, not my own, that sounds weird, but magazines that I'm into that have more to do with my interests and my own version of manhood. Like, for example, Outside is certainly probably my favorite because I'm an outdoorsy person. An outdoorsman, you might even say. Um, so I do that instead. I mean, I've subscribed to this for like more years than I can count, so it's always been there, but I just don't do the like GQ and stuff now, because originally I was like, oh, GQ, suits, fancy clothes, like that's so exciting and cool, and I want to learn about it. But now that I've kind of done that, I'm like, I'm not really that kind of guy. I mean, I do enjoy dressing up sometimes, but I'm just not into like the whole ad executive type of look or lifestyle. Like, It's just, I don't know, I'm an outside person. So that's interesting that I'm just not tempted to get those magazines anymore. And other stuff. Um, so in previous videos, I've talked about how at times I've been really self-conscious about things like how I speak, or my mannerisms, or things that I say, like using the words cute or tiny, which don't seem that masculine. But now I'm like, I don't care about that. Like, I'm gonna talk how I talk. I feel secure in being a man. I feel secure in other people viewing me as a man. And I'm not gonna get hung up on stuff like that because I don't think that gender roles or like traditional gender roles should limit us that much. And also, I'm just so used to being a man and being viewed as a man that I'm much less nervous about people like secretly wondering like what's the deal with him? He seems unusual. I just kind of moved beyond worrying about that mostly. And like I had made a video a few months ago or a year ago or something about handwriting and how I'm a professor, so I write on the board a lot. And I had wondered, like, do people think that I have like women's handwriting, or not that I have very feminine handwriting, but it crossed my mind. But now I just don't care. So that's another thing that I'm kind of less hung up on now that I'm just more secure and more used to this manifestation and my own identity. Um, and let's see. Another thing is that I just feel used to being in men's spaces in large part, like restrooms, locker rooms. I mean, I do still have a little bit of nervousness. Like, I am still kind of self conscious about whether guys notice that when I pee in the stall, my feet are pointing away from the toilet. But I'm less preoccupied with that now than in the past. Because I've never had any trouble in restrooms, so it's not a big deal. I know it's just in my head, but at any rate, that has decreased, that worrying. And last month, I think, I went swimming at a public pool for first time. I mean, I've been in hotel pools since transitioning, but never like in a pool locker room or anything since transitioning. And so I was in this locker room, and it was an interesting, somewhat new experience. Although I have been in the locker room at my gym, but it's a little different. There are less people at my gym. So I was in the locker room, and I felt pretty comfortable. Like I didn't feel worried really because I wasn't gonna deal with getting naked. I didn't need to. It's not like I was coming from work or anything like that. So I had my swim shorts on when I got there, but I changed into my rash guard shirt, which I wanted to wear, I guess mostly just for sun protection, because I sunburn so easily, and I can't put sunscreen on my back by myself, so it's better for my health to wear the rash guard shirt. So I did put that on in the locker room, and I do try to turn away from people when I have my shirt off because I am very self-conscious about my scars, because as you guys have seen before, they're not so good. Kind of did not win the lottery on that one. Not that I'm like deathly afraid of people seeing them, but I would just kind of prefer that they didn't. So I was a little bit self-conscious in those ways, but um, all in all, it was fine, and I felt comfortable in the sense of like, this is the locker room I'm supposed to be in, and it's fine, and certainly much less stressful and much more fitting than back when I used women's facilities as a butch woman. God, that was so stressful and horrible. Um, so now I just feel like, yeah, I'm in here with the other guys. Of course, that's how it is. And so that's a good feeling. Um, and then let's see, a couple other things that are different than in recent years. I feel like I kind of have less desire or like less need to go to the weekly trans support group in town. There's just a lot of things related to the trans experience that I just don't have any need to discuss right now, like coming out, um, figuring out one's feelings about one's gender. I'm kind of beyond that. And I mean, if people like want advice or something, I'm happy to talk about that, but I'm just not like as interested in it as I used to be. I mean, I might be more likely to go if it were more like the group that I had back when I lived in the Bay Area that was just trans men. Just because you can discuss much more specific issues that are helpful to talk about and hear other people's perspectives on. But anyway, and so kind of related to the support group situation is that, as I said in one of my recent videos, I am not on YouTube that much, which is different from how it's been for the past like 10 years or more. So that's a new thing. I mean, I do go to YouTube. I do watch some people's videos, especially people that I've been following for a long time, just because I feel like we're almost sort of friends and I like to see what's going on with them. But it's not like how it used to be for me, where I feel like, oh gosh, I'm so focused on this gender stuff. Like, I need to watch lots of videos. I just need to see trans people. I need to hear from them. I need to figure this thing out. Like, it's not like that at all anymore, which is quite a weight off of me. So it's really peaceful in that way, but a little different. And then, of course, I don't really make as many videos as I used to for the same kinds of reasons. But I don't want to completely leave YouTube because I hate it when people do that. Like, trans guys that I've watched for years just leave, and then you have no idea what happened to them. And I hate that. I hate it. It drives me crazy. So I'm not going to do that. Um, but I'm just a bit less into YouTube now. Let's see. What else? Just one or two final things. So even though I've gotten to this point of feeling more secure and less preoccupied with all of this gender stuff, I mean, that's not to say that things are perfect, because I do still definitely have some physical dysphoria, for sure. And I do identify as trans. That's a big part of my life and my identity. I'm not in the camp of being like, I'm done with transition, I'm just a man, I'm not a trans man. No, I totally identify as a trans man, for sure. And I'm interested in being out and educating people about that and so forth. But, yeah, as I was saying, I still do have dysphoria. It's worse at sometimes than other times. I mean, when I look in the mirror or look at pictures of myself, I'm like, oh yeah, I feel good about this. I totally did the right thing transitioning. Which is way better than how I felt in those situations before transitioning. So that's good, but not perfect. Like, I do feel dysphoric about like having small hands and small feet. Interestingly, that's really come up for me lately because I've been doing physical therapy for my ankle that's been like mildly but naggingly injured for like 3 months, which has made me horribly depressed this summer. But anyway, so I've been doing physical therapy, and so the physical therapist, a man, maybe a little younger than me, actually, but about my age. You know, like he's working on my ankle and my foot, and then like staring at my ankle and my foot. And that just draws my attention to it and makes me think, oh man, my feet are like freakishly small. And I don't like that. And when I buy shoes, I don't buy shoes that I feel accentuate the smallness of my feet. Like, for example, slip-ons, like Vans slip-ons. I'm not interested in those, partly because I just enjoy wearing more like running shoes types of things, but also because those have to be snug or else they fall off. And so I feel like they make my foot look small, especially because they're low profile, because they're not bulky. So I don't buy shoes like that. Um, and then also like t-shirts, men's t-shirts that have like slightly wider necks. I do not get those ever because those make me really dysphoric. Because I don't know, it makes me feel like my neck is small. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I hate those. Um, and then, of course, there's the classic things of like my hips and my butt. I mean, thankfully they're not like gigantic, but still very dysphoric about that. And then there's the whole like lower region thing, which I am quite dysphoric about. It's not all consuming, and it's not to the point where I want to go through the insane ordeal of lower surgery for a variety of reasons. But I do have difficult dysphoria about that, sometimes more than others. So I don't necessarily want to go into a whole lot of detail about that, but it does really bother me a lot. So it's challenging. So I'm not saying things are perfect for me right now or anything, but in some ways I've moved on from a lot of difficulties or a lot of preoccupations or something from earlier times. So, yeah. I guess that's kind of all I have to say about this for the moment. Yeah, well, that's about it. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, and thank you for watching. Bye.